the 2015 Hatman Boxing Awards. I got 7 categories this year, but before I get into that and reel off my winners for each 7 categories, I want to just say a few words about the attitude of some boxing fans. Now, I love boxing. I wouldn't have been doing this YouTube thing for as long as I've been doing it. Since, when was it, 2009, 2010 when I started? I wouldn't have been doing it this long, week in, week out, making thousands of videos if I did not love the sport of boxing. I just wouldn't be doing it. Of course, 2015, we didn't get all the fights that we wanted to see. I didn't get all the fights that I wanted to see. But there was still far more positives than negatives. We saw the return with PBC, the return of boxing, championship boxing, to terrestrial network television in the USA, opening up boxing to a much wider audience. And on the PBC platform, we've seen loads of highly competitive and great fights in 2015. And I'll get onto that a little bit later on in this video. And I'm just going to run through some of the excellent fights we've seen. In fact, no, I'll leave that for my fight of the year category where I'll run through some of the great fights we've seen in 2015, because we have seen some spectacular fights. So all you guys, you know, glasses half empty guys who are always complaining, and, you know, certain people are saying, oh, 2015 was a shit year for boxing. I mean, you either need to go watch a different sport or you need to go see a psychologist, because there was plenty to be happy about in 2015. There was far more positives than negatives. And I think sometimes people put too much emphasis on these marquee fights, because marquee fights don't always make the most entertaining fights, as Pacquiao Mayweather proved. Which is why I made a video a long time ago, earlier in 2015, telling you that I was looking forward more to Dillian Whyte against Anthony Joshua than Mayweather Pacquiao. And if you go back and look at that video, I was being massively criticized for that. People say, oh, how could you be looking forward to Joshua Whyte more than Mayweather Pacquiao, Hatman? Get the hell out of here. Well, now you know why, don't you? Now you sound stupid. Calling me crazy or whatever you were calling me when I said I'm looking forward to Joshua Whyte more than Mayweather Pacquiao. Now you know why. All you fools who were looking forward to Mayweather Pacquiao, you should have known all along the fight was going to be a snooze fest. Anyway, moving on to this list. The 7 categories I have here are Prospect of the Year, Promoter of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Upset of the Year, Card of the Year, Fight of the Year, and Fighter of the Year. Let's get straight into it. Prospect/Contender of the Year, okay? Because a lot of the time in previous years when I talked about prospect, people say, oh, that guy's not a prospect, he's a contender. So when I use the category contender, they say, oh, he's not a contender, he's a prospect. So I'm saying Prospect/Contender of the Year. And my Prospect/Contender of the Year for 2015 is, I'm still going to go with Artur Beterbiev. Some people are going to say Joshua, this, that, or the other, come up with different names, maybe Errol Spence, etc., etc. I'm going to stick with Artur Beterbiev, man. To me, he's still the most impressive guy and the most solid prospect/contender that I've seen out there currently. So I'm going with Artur Beterbiev. Second category, Promoter of the Year. Now, Al Haymon is not officially a promoter, but we all know he's a promoter, allegedly. And what he's done for the sport of boxing in 2015 has not even, no other promoter has even come close to rivaling it. And what does a promoter do? A promoter promotes fighters and fights. That's what he does. Who else has done a better job at just promoting the sport of boxing in general than Al Haymon in 2015? Go and look at the PBC YouTube channel, Premier Boxing Champions YouTube channel. Go look at that channel and look how many great fights are on there that he's put on free for people to watch in the United States on television. And he uploads all the fights, or most of the fights, most of the best fights, onto his YouTube channel afterwards. In their entirety, many of them. And people complain about Al Heyman. Are you nuts? If you're complaining about what Al Heyman has done in 2015, look, some people say, oh, he protects his fighters. Name me a promoter that don't protect their fighters from time to time. All of them do. Just to reel off some of the fights that Al Heyman has put on in 2015. He put on, for example, Rodriguez versus Seals. All right, that was a great barn burner, crazy fight. He put on DeGale versus Durrell. That was an excellent fight. He put on Porter versus Broner. That was a good fight. He put on Fonfara versus Cleverly. That was a great fight. He put on Huck versus Glavatsky. That was an excellent fight. And there have been many more. Just go over to the PBC YouTube channel and have a look for yourselves. Premier Boxing Champions YouTube channel. So this guy's put on loads of good fights. He's spread boxing right the way across the terrestrial, free-to-air network broadcasting platforms in the United States. And he's brought it back, or he's trying to bring it back to how it used to be in the 80s. Okay, so in terms of promoting boxing, Al Heyman has got to be promoter of the year. Giving people free boxing and uploading it to YouTube too in HD. How can you hate on that? Tell me a promoter that's done as much as Al Heyman's done in 2015 that's been as good for boxing as he has. Nobody. I'm not saying Heyman's perfect. You can definitely criticize Uncle Al. But when you sit him next to the other promoters, it's no contest. And yeah, I know some people are going to say he's not a promoter. Whatever. He's a promoter, allegedly. So yeah, promoter of the year, hands down, Al Heyman. If I had to pick a second place for promoter of the year, I would say probably Golden Boy. Because they have matched their fighters tough. They did put on Golovkin versus Lemieux. They did put on Canelo versus Miguel Cotto. So you have to give them some respect there. Maybe second place, but first place definitely Uncle Al with PBC, even though he's not officially a promoter. Anyway, third category, KO of the year. There have been a lot of great KOs this year. A lot of great KOs. But for me, the KO of the year had to be Canelo Alvarez knocking out James Kirtland. Kirtland went spinning round like a whirling dervish. You know, he got spun like the Wheel of Fortune. Great right hand, great KO. Poor James Kirtland got slumped. So that was my KO of the year, definitely. Canelo Alvarez knocking out Kirtland. Upset of the year. For me, there are two contenders for upset of the year. One of them being Tyson Fury upsetting Klitschko, and the other one being Duradola upsetting Kudryashov. Because if you're talking about the odds, the bookmakers' odds, the Kudryashov Duradola fight, that was actually a bigger upset than Klitschko Fury. I think Duradola was about a 25-1 underdog in the Kudryashov fight. So if you're going by bookmakers' odds, then I would have to say Duradola over Kudryashov was the upset of the year. But given the fact that Duradola and Kudryashov, particularly Kudryashov, he's just a contender, he's just a prospect, he's not a proven fighter. When you look at it in that context, it wasn't really that shocking because you don't really know how good Kudryashov is. So I would personally say my upset of the year has to be Fury over Klitschko. Now, to me, it wasn't a massive upset in the sense that I wasn't shocked. I was happy, but I wasn't shocked by it. It wasn't like when Douglas beat Tyson or when Hunnigan beat Donald Curry, or, you know, it wasn't like that. It wasn't it wasn't even like McCall or Rackman beating Lennox Lewis. No way. This was a fight where I thought Fury could be highly competitive and him winning on points. If someone had told me that before the fight, I would have been surprised more for the fact that Fury was able to get a decision in Germany. You know, but him actually winning, he was a 3-1 underdog, I believe, against Klitschko. Only something like 3-1 or 4-1 with some bookies. So he wasn't really a massive underdog. You know, so it was an upset. I don't think there was that many spectacular upsets this year anyway. But as upsets go, I would say Fury versus Klitschko is my upset of the year. Next category, card of the year. Which card was the best value for money and the most action-packed in terms of just great fights. You know, fights that turned out to be highly entertaining. My card of the year was definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the Povetkin versus Mariusz Wach card. That was a terrific card. It's unfortunate that it's been kind of, there's been a little bit of controversy surrounding the whole drug testing stuff around that card, which is unfortunate. But the actual card itself was absolutely spectacular. So many great fights on that card, so many wars, so many come from behind victories and all that type of stuff. Wicked card that they put on over there in Russia. So that was definitely my card of the year, the Povetkin versus Mariusz Wach card. The main event, Povetkin versus Wach, wasn't actually that good. It was an okay fight, but nothing spectacular. But the undercard was just terrific. So many great fights on that undercard. So that was my card of the year. Fight of the year. Now, my fight of the year, there's going to be a lot of contenders for fight of the year. Let me just reel off some of the fights, great fights that have happened in 2015, because there have been a lot. Okay. I did a poll about this actually, and most people, that voted on my poll, they picked Joshua White as fight of the year. Now, Joshua White is definitely not my fight of the year, but I guess it's still fresh in a lot of people's memories, so they picked that as fight of the year. But no, I'll just reel through or list through some of the fights that were great fights or contenders for fight of the year in 2015. Joshua White, as I said, Marco Huck versus Glowacki, Fonfara versus Cleverly, Vargas versus Miura, Kudryashov versus Duradola, Rodriguez versus Seals. That was a wild fight, by the way. It's a great fight that Al Heyman put on PBC. Porter versus Broner. Not really one of my contenders for fight of the year, but some people felt it was. Donaire versus Juarez. That was a great fight. DeGale versus Durrell. That was an excellent fight. Kono versus Kamida, Matisse versus Provodnikov, Chakia versus Afolabi. That was a great fight. That's on YouTube. Go watch Chakia versus Afolabi. You won't be disappointed. And also Jennings versus Ortiz. Some people thoroughly enjoyed that. So there's been plenty of great fights in 2015. Plenty of great entertainment. Me personally, I'm gonna pick a fight which most people wouldn't pick. A lot of people are picking things like Fonfara Cleverly, and you can't hate on that. That was a great fight. And also Huck, however you want to pronounce it, versus Glowacki. A lot of people are picking that, and I can't complain at Huck versus Glowacki. That was a tremendous fight too. But me personally, my fight of the year was Kudryashov versus Duradola. That's right. It was only a 2-round fight, but hey, that's the fight I enjoyed the most. Clean punching, an upset. Two big punches going at it. I thought it was a tremendously exciting spectacle. Now, if you rewind back to, when was it, 1985, whenever it was, I think it was 85, when Marvin Hagler fought Tommy Hearns, that fight only lasted 3 rounds and he got fight of the year. Now, obviously, this fight was nowhere near as good as Hagler Hearns, but that just goes to show you a fight don't have to be a 12-round fight for anyone to be giving it fight of the year. Back when Hagler fought Hearns, they still had 15-round fights back then, and yet a 3-round fight won fight of the year. Right? And don't get it twisted, it was incredible 3 rounds. But still, my personal fight of the year, the fight which I enjoyed more than any other fight, was Kudryashov versus Duradola. And finally, onto the 7th and final category, fighter of the year. There really shouldn't be too many contenders for this, although there's always people that disagree, and that's all good. But me personally, there's only one name that stands above all others for their achievements in 2015, and that has to be the king, the Gypsy Warrior, Tyson Fury. He is my 2015 fighter of the year. He managed to dismantle the robot and hopefully rid the boxing world of the most boring heavyweight era that we've seen in many, many years. Now, a lot of people criticize Fury's performance for being boring itself, and it definitely wasn't exactly action-packed. But Tyson Fury will not be another Vladimir Klitschko, I can tell you that. even if he wanted to be, even if he wanted to fight safety first from now until the rest of his career, we're moving in, and I've said this many times and I'm going to keep saying it until people accept it and understand it and realize that it's true. We are moving into another golden age of heavyweight boxing. The standard of competition is going to be better as we move into this new golden age than it was in the previous era of boxing, the Klitschko era, where it was a very weak division. The division is going to get much stronger now. And because it's getting much stronger, Tyson Fury won't be able to just stick people on the end of a jab like a Klitschko and win fight safety first. He won't be able to do that with every guy that he fights. He's going to fight guys that are going to force him into the trenches, and they're going to make it exciting, and it's going to be spectacular. Okay, so, and I don't think Tyson Fury is going to do that anyway. You can't fight every guy the way that you fought Klitschko. It is what it is. But anyway, Tyson Fury is my fighter of the year. 7 categories, people, just running through them again. For those of you who want to drop your awards, Fighter of the Year awards and all that stuff, boxing awards in the comment section below, based on my criteria or based on my categories. The categories are Prospect / Contender of the Year, Promoter of the Year, KO of the Year, Upset of the Year, Card of the Year, Fight of the Year, and Fighter of the Year. All right? Let me know yours in the comment section below. Hope you all enjoyed 2015 as much as I did. We didn't get to see all the fights we want, but it is what it is. Sometimes these big fights turn out to be disappointing, and sometimes fights which you don't expect much of turn out to be great fights. So there was definitely more positives than negatives in 2015. Don't listen to the naysayers, man. They ain't really true boxing fans. And if they do count themselves as true boxing fans, then they seriously got a screw loose if they didn't enjoy all these great fights that we had in 2015. And shout out to everyone, who's been with me, however long you've been with me as a subscriber. I appreciate you all. Hope you all gonna have a good New Year's. Stay safe out there. If you're gonna drink, don't drink too much. Don't take drinks from strangers and all that stuff. So yeah, it is what it is, people. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.